Hello everyone, it is Alicia Prochnow, your independent consultant for 31, and we are here again for Watch It Wednesday. I don't know what I'm doing. Anyways, we're back with another topic as suggested. Today's is my favorite thermal for grocery shopping. So my favorite thermal for grocery shopping is the Fresh Market Thermal. It's one of the largest thermals we have, which is why I like it for grocery shopping. So I wanted to highlight that. And there was a specific question about does it actually work for frozen things? So here's what I can tell you about the Fresh Market Thermal. This particular one right here is the one I got in 2017 when I got my enrollment kit. So I have been using this for over 3 years. If you look from the outside, it's still in fantastic shape. The only thing I do use it for is grocery shopping. I don't use it for any other thermal related activity. It's my dedicated grocery shopping one. So it's not out kind of getting a lot of use otherwise. I got a setting here. Make sure I can see comments. So this is an old pattern, so you won't find this, but I did share the link that should be posted on the ones that are currently available. So the Fresh Market Thermal has a couple of things. It is more of a rectangular size thermal, good size. I can tell you that it does hold a sheet cake size, not a full sheet. I'm thinking of like the sheet size ice cream cake, like from Dairy Queen, the actual rectangular one. It does fit that in. You kind of have to finagle a little bit, but it does sit fully in the bottom. So it does transport that size of information, that size of groceries. It holds a gallon of ice cream. It holds gallons. I actually have put 2 gallons of milk in here. It's always funny when you're doing grocery shopping, folks they always want to set it to the side, right? I'm like, no, throw it in there. I don't want to carry it separate. That's what I got bags for, right? So with its rectangular design, it does have these snaps. My snaps are never closed, ever. There's so much more space when they're unsnapped, and then the time to take to snap them, I see no value. I don't use them. It does have a pocket in the front if you personalize. I don't do I don't have any personalization on this because I got it with my kit. And it does have shoulder straps, so it is nice to carry in and out of the store, to get it into the house, so you're not making this, a bunch of different trips. Really important features. And also a really good thing about this one, even not for grocery shopping, is it has the white lining, which is the leak lock lining, which means you can put loose ice in it and it won't leak. Now leaking is different than sweating, okay? Leaking is the ice melts, the water runs out and you have a mess. Sweating is you have something cold inside, it's hot outside, and the bag has condensation on it. Yes, they can both look wet, but it is not the same thing. It's easy to get those things confused. Think it's leaking when it's actually condensation. To support that, the insides of the thermal are actually sealed. I don't know if you can quite see that seam. So it's not going to be sewn through, so there's no holes. Now, when you're grocery shopping, and there's a reason that this is my dedicated grocery shopping one, is if you're putting things in here that have sharp edges, things like boxes are a good culprit of this. They can poke into this. I mean, it's essentially plastic, essentially a thick plastic lining. It can poke into it, and that can create a leak hole. And a tiny pinprick could create a leak. So that's why I have a dedicated grocery shopping one, because I know that I'm not going to be putting, loose ice in it. And I really hope that if I have a liquid, it's not going to blow up. I think that is a bonus of the leak lock, is if you have something that's in a bottle that blows up, it helps save it. But I don't know where I was going with that. Anyway, so it does fit a ton. So you can see the size. I said I put gallons of milk in it. I always try to pack the big things first and then go around. I do fit like frozen pizzas. They're usually a little too tall this way, but if I can kind of get them angled over something, that works really well if I can't get them on the bottom. So do they work for frozen things? That was the question. So this is a thermal, not a freezer, okay? So it does keep things cool when it has the temperature of items with it, or if it's cool outside. So if you're putting something cool in here with something frozen, the cool stuff will stay cool. it's not going to keep things frozen solid, you know, like if you had them in a freezer, because this doesn't have any cooling unit to keep it at a below freezing temperature. I can say that for me, grocery shopping, and my grocery store is about 45 minutes away, so if anything's in here, it's usually from like 1 to 3 hours, depending on what my other errands are. In that amount of time, I've had, you know, pizzas kind of get a little soft. You know, they're not thawed, but you know how they're not quite as stiff anymore. But like ice cream, I've never had any problem with that getting soft. I don't have a problem with anything getting warm unless it's, you know, 90 degrees outside and it's sitting in a hot car without air conditioning, you know, things of that nature. During the winter, I don't even usually zip this bag up because it's so cold, and I'll allow it to go, you know, over if I need to fit the cold stuff in. I do usually try to keep the cold stuff to a minimum so I can zip it, just so it makes it easy for carrying it. But with the winter, when it's outside, I don't usually worry about that as much as I do during the summer. So you do have to consider, you know, how long it's in the bag and what the temperature of the item is that you're putting in there. You know, it's a thermal bag, it's not a freezer, it's not one of those big, thick, you know, industrial coolers that we love for camping, you know, those big, thick-walled ones. You know, it's meant for a couple hours, not a couple days. Now, I've seen some things that are impressive. I'm looking for information on this particular bag. I have a different thermal that I personally use that I put ice in it, and when I opened it up the next day, so this was probably like 13 hours, there was actually still ice left in that bag. There was water, like it was melted, but there was actually still ice available and things were still cold. And that was in a hotel room in air conditioning, so you gotta kind of take that with a grain of salt. But I was impressed because I didn't expect it to actually still have ice in it the next day. I do know someone who has kept theirs like in their trunk overnight and still had like an ice pack be frozen. So it kind of depends on the time of year, it depends on where you are. It is a great bag, don't get me wrong. It is thick, it's probably about 1/2 inch of thermal material, but you just kind of have to view what it is for what it is, right? It is my favorite. It's the only one I use for grocery shopping. I love the leak lock liner. It is one of the biggest sizes that we have. I think that's pretty much it. I mean, it's like the all-around go-to bag. I really prefer the square size in terms of the thermals. You can use it for other things. You know, it'd be great to fill with water bottles to take to a football game, baseball game during the summer. It is still good for camping. I know I mentioned that, but it's like shorter periods of time, right? Like if you're going out on a hike, I mean, you don't want to carry a big bag, but if you're going on a picnic, it would be good for that. If you're going on a boat, you know, if you're going to a beach, you know, for those purposes, it's going to work, you know, keeping in mind the outside temperature and what you have inside. You need to make sure you have the appropriate cooling ice packs and things in it to keep stuff cool. So that's pretty much it on my favorite grocery shopping thermal, which is the Fresh Market thermal. If you have any questions, let me know. If you have any ideas on what you would like to hear about next week or in the coming Watch It Wednesdays, go ahead and drop those as well. And thank you for being here, and we'll see you again soon.